Ребят, мы еще раз напоминаем выключить все средства связи, кроме одной.
We remind you once again to turn off all means of connection except for one, the one that is between us. We're starting our great Congress. I'm not afraid of that word, that sensation. Even my voice is shaking. I know how many people are watching us now, besides the ones that are gathered here. When we were leaving from Israel, we were getting a lot of SMSs. And for yesterday, we were talking about it. They were just tremoring at the anticipation of what's going to happen here. This Congress, which is called Arava, and here we're performing a European Arava. It depends on us how we can do it. What we will now demand from the lesson, with what desire we will approach it. We have only one desire, I feel it, to unite into one. And to receive that which we want. And to transmit it to the world. We gathered here to be in one wave and one thought, to unite the points in the heart, to overcome egoism. We can think for 20 hours about just one thing, how to be together as one, so that the upper force, which supports everything that is alive, would approach us, go in our direction. We will compel it with our desire, and it will approach us. We're creating a new organ of sensation. That's why it's called the science of Kabbalah. Not just to receive, but a whole method of development of. It's not in one person, it's between people. When they try to form something between themselves which reveals the upper force, something that is between us. This detector, this sensor, it can only be between us, not in any of us, but together with us. The degree to which we come to unite with one another, then will reveal this force. The law of homeostasis. This is the whole method. I remember when I was in the beginning, when I was studying with my teacher, and I didn't understand anything at all. He told me a couple of phrases. He said the most important thing is to develop a feeling.
Is to develop the feeling, the sensation toward the Creator, which fills this entire nature around us. I did not know what that meant, to develop a sensation. I was a very scientific-minded person who liked to understand rather than feel. And a lot of time has passed until I learned that you cannot attain it with intellect. It's only attainable by developing this additional sensory organ within. And this sensory organ can only be attained by working together. Similar to this upper force that's around us. And that's why we have gathered here today. To unite, to create these conditions among us, to reveal this force, and as we get closer and closer together, this force will be revealed. The wisdom of Kabbalah tells us the stage-by-stage development that we need to be in order to start revealing this force. To the extent that we aspire to one another, rising above our ego, making restrictions on it, uniting, achieving the first level, and feeling this force on the level of the nefesh, so-called nefesh, the inanimate level. When we feel that something exists between us, but we cannot yet fully grasp it. There are all kinds of sensations, but they cannot be defined yet, cannot be measured. And then when we aspire toward each other even more, we acquire an even greater connection. We begin to learn how to include ourselves into one another, into a greater degree of connection, and that allows us to be more sensitivity, to be more sensitive to one another, to grow in sensitivity, and not only in the ability to sense, but also to determine and understand how it is that we're doing this. And we then begin to sense this force on the level of ruach, which is movement. Now, in accordance with the movement of one another towards each other, we're able to make contact, and based on the various intonations of our movements, we're able to connect better. And we, at that point, exist in a certain dialogue between this upper force, and we speak to it, and it responds to us. And then we continue in this path of connection toward one another, and we begin to sense not only how we can start connecting, but I can give something in action and receive something in action. And then we acquire the sensation of the upper force when we exist in it, in communication, in giving and receiving from it. And this level is called neshama, the level of binah. It's a very high level. And so on. We begin to attain this interconnections between us and how we can work with them by receiving from another, by bestowing to others through myself, allowing it to pass through myself to others, attaining the level of the light of Chokhmah or Chaya. And onward, when we acquire a state, when we feel absolutely everyone as a single whole, there is absolutely no difference, no communication, no transfer of anything. Everything simply merges like a drops of water into a single body of water, and then all division fades away, and we acquire the level of yichida. Yichida comes from the word unity, complete unity between ourselves and naturally this upper force. So these 5 levels, we acquire all of them. We attain all of them only to the extent of the connection between us above our personal ego, protectionism, when we remove all personal calculations and the person rises above and lives only for the mutual, what exists between them, in order to develop this ability, this instrument of attainment. And for this to happen, we gather together in a group at congresses, in all the actions that we do. And we develop it within us gradually. Our time is wonderful in that it forces us, it pushes us towards this. And not only us, but the entire humanity. At preliminary stages, just as I didn't understand what it meant to develop my feelings, to connect with others and unite with them, a lot of stages pass until a person clarifies what this is all for, what does he need to do here, and why. He acts automatically, and he looks at others and learns from them, and very gradually, bit by bit, something begins to move within him. He as if begins to, suddenly something grabs him from the inside, and he begins to sense that, yes, there is something brand new that's being born here that I did not know about before. Some new passageway into a completely new realm that was completely concealed from me. And the world is helping us in this process today by being in the state that it's in this completely confused state, and all the people in the world, from the small to the great, the weak and the strong, the rich and the poor, it doesn't matter. No one knows where they are, where they exist. Everyone's looking for something and they don't know where they are. They don't know how to fit. So they act automatically, trying to continue the life that they had lived thus far, and this life doesn't exist anymore. And we need to think about not only how to unite together between us, and to sense this higher force between us. This program of the upper program that has been developing us over the course of the entire human history, from that spark that emerged after the Big Bang and developed the entire all matter with all its energy and information. It compelled, it forced this matter to come together. This matter came together, it formed initially from energy, and then particles appeared, and they began to merge together, unite, and form atoms and molecules, all kinds of crystallized formations. And then life appeared also in the same process, where all these elements came together. On the still inanimate level, it's simply the aspiration to grab onto one another, and in this way to feel a greater state in the connection between them. It is precisely in this connection, in coming together, and all the various elements in nature are manifested in this way, all the main elements. Then a greater degree past that, because this was the nefesh, the inanimate level, and then we move on to the level of ruach. They begin to move between another and consume and to give to one another and receive, and that's the next level, the vegetative level. And again, only to the extent of the unification between them is there progress. And the next level is the animate level, when they now begin to procreate and they begin to come together in families, animal families. And finally, human, which doesn't only unite with others and create particularly complicated, complex societies and all kinds of groups, clans, families. He builds and he destroys, but all this again is built on the unification. These unifications are egoistic. They're designed for the next level of development, and this is how nature continues to push us towards greater and greater unification, and everything is built on this. And now we exist at the next level of unification in the same direction. But this unification now needs to happen with our involvement consciously. We need to take an active role in it, to do it ourselves. Nature is pushing us to develop against our will, like all the other levels before this one. But we can't automatically reach this new state. We need to learn to desire it independently, because only by raising our consciousness can we create this sensory organ for the attainment, for the reception of this upper force, this upper light. And here our own involvement is essential, and it needs to be anti-egoistic. It cannot be built simply on unification like in the preceding stages, because here this unification is built as if on the contrary, against our natural tendencies, because here we need to become similar to the upper force, not simply gather together. Therefore, in our current unification, we need to think about, first of all of our friends in the world and connect them within us. They are here with all of us today. We need to feel in this space, or even better, in the space between us, that all of their desires exist there. All of their feelings, all of their thoughts, all of their plans, all of their hopes. And in addition to that, at the same time, we need to think about humanity. What we can do to allow it to feel as well what the next stage of its development is. What level of consciousness and sensation we as people, as humans, need to ascend to. Those who have created this prototype between us, Adam, which comes from the word which means similar to the Creator. And most importantly, we have to remember that the goal of our unification, it is in uniting with this upper force, which fills everything around us and determines everything and governs everything, and which has created this entire world from a tiny spark of its energy. And through this spark, which has developed up to this state here, for us to be able to break through into the next dimension, which is what our entire evolution has been leading us to. This is why we have gathered here. All around the world, those who understand and desire to understand, desire to master this method. And we all hope that we'll be able to do it, that we'll succeed. Everything depends only on our intentions, on our inner aspiration toward this unification between us. So let's think about that, and let's begin our Congress. Maybe we should sing? Okay, friends, let's begin our lesson. I usually have Oren singing here, and he has other friends. And I just imagined to myself that I'm successful in what you just told us to do. So thank you. And we feel a very good state in our study hall. So we begin with our traditional article that we always read. We understand it to a greater and greater degree, and Rav just now, he was able to aim it toward our time, and it's called the goal of the group. We have gathered here to lay the foundation of the group for those who aspire to attain the laws of nature and to follow them. We have united in order to travel this path together, to rise from unconscious development, being forced by nature on the animate level, to conscious development, to a level called human. The difference between these two levels, animal and human, amounts to the understanding of how nature is developed and the actualization of this development, but conscious actualization. And the human level amounts to the difference. Instead of being developed by nature subconsciously, we need to learn the laws of nature and follow them consciously. By doing so, he wins twofold. He moves quickly and by his own desire, without experiencing blows, and by happily perceiving all of the changes occurring within him. He penetrates inside the laws of nature and becomes the master of his destiny. We need to become similar to the Creator. We need to make space for Him. We need to govern ourselves, and through ourselves to govern all the other elements of nature. This is why we feel this great discomfort in our corporal lives, which is threatening even our physical existence. And in order to come to this level of governance and attainment, to take the reins and to start feeling nature as our component of us. In reality, there is nothing that exists that we sense as though it exists on the outside, bodies, physical bodies, all kinds of objects, and outer space. Nothing exists on the outside. This is what we studied, that it all exists within our perception. It exists within us and is perceived by us, although in reality, these are simply particles of ourselves, meaning our desire is split among us. It's separated in the way that a part of this desire I feel as myself, and another part of this desire, it is depicted as though it exists beyond us, outside of us. The so-called parts Shorish Neshama Guf, Levushei Chal, our inner basis, then the soul, the body, the clothes, the garments, with something that's close to us and touches us, and then everything else. These are all the parts, the five sections of the desire, which all exist within us, except in our perception and in our consciousness that they're split into inner and outer. And when a person begins to connect with others, he begins to approach, to relate to this illusion correctly. He begins to sense that all these things, they exist within him, not outside of him, that these are all parts of him. It suddenly becomes weird to him, but he sees how all these things are being activated from within him, that he is the part that determines everything else. Suddenly, the entire world depends on my feelings, my thoughts, and all other people with respect to me as well. To the degree that I relate to them, they suddenly begin to draw closer to me and come under my influence, under my will, to the extent that I am able to relate to them correctly. And what's interesting, this system works on many levels, on many planes. Every person constitutes this system. So everyone, from his own point, from that origin point of his soul, he feels that he is the center which governs everything. And there is no conflict between these points. Everyone has their own point of origin, and when we connect all these points in a common unified goal toward unifying with this force of nature, what follows is the unification of all of these points, individual points. It advances this picture all the way to the world of infinity. Therefore, our unification, it has remarkable consequences. And as a result, it brings us to the next level, the next dimension. The next segment. Nature is integrated and whole, and it gradually develops all its parts, including us, to the same state. Until our time, we developed simply, linearly, and egoistically, carrying out nature's orders with us instinctively. But recently, we have completed the phase of our linear egoistic development, and from here on, we, each person and all of us together, have to become similar to the integral nature. The goal of our natural development lies in attaining the essence of nature, its program and goal. By studying the laws of integral analog systems, we understand that this means our total unity in a single society, mutual bestowal and love. We realize that this is completely opposite to our egoism, the nature within which we were created. We only wish to fulfill our personal desires, and this makes us opposite to the degree of total interconnection that we have to attain according to nature's plan. You know, then I been using the same examples for many years now from our daily life, from our body, which consists of all kinds of different separate parts that appear to be autonomous by themselves. The heart, the kidneys, the lungs, the liver, all of the major organs in the human body, every one of them works in its own mode, its own way. It has its own program of operation, but everything is built on cooperation. Even though all the individual organs, they work differently in a different pace and have different tasks, there is one task that unites them all together, and that's preserving the entire body in correct state. And this, on this depends, all of those organs need to work correctly in order to make that happen, where the work of every individual organ is aimed at working in cooperation with all the other parts of the body. Similarly, every one of us needs to feel that he is a small organ in a great big body, and it not to the extent that he will be by himself, but to the extent that he will be in accord with everyone else. To that extent, he will be closer to creating this mutual sensory organ together. So a person shouldn't be aimed at his own individual development. That doesn't even exist, essentially. It needs to be, everyone needs to be aimed only at integration and unification. There are a lot of people that come to us and they study the books, but they only study in order to find out, in order to learn what's really written there. But they don't connect to this mutual work on unification. And these people, they don't understand at all what this is all for. Okay, so there is a method, there is a theory that talks about moving in some imaginary space, moving up, moving down. There are communications between certain objects. It's vague, it's unclear where they are. Everything is fully abstract, and it doesn't exist in our world. So what do we do with this? Well, until these people come to realize that they have to connect to the unification, to start unifying between them, connecting together, and only in this interconnectedness between them, they'll be able to see this, where is this level of Binah, where is this restriction of desires and rising above the desire, and connecting with another, receiving from another while bestowing to them, and so on, until they begin to start learning to try and actualize it between them. This science, this wisdom doesn't tell them anything. It's empty philosophy, nothing more than that. So the most important thing for us is not really to study what's in the books, but to aspire to feel what we study, to implement it in life, in the connection between us, to actualize it. Otherwise, as our teachers say, a person dries up. He simply doesn't see the consequences of what he reads about. Of course, there is a lot of interesting stuff in there, enlightening stuff, but these are purely intellectual perceptions and nothing more. But the method itself is extremely practical, and it must be actualized between us. And we need to be thankful for our destinies, for the fact that we have been chosen to attain, clearly attain between ourselves that which this wisdom speaks of, and to bring this method to the rest of the world. We are pioneers. We're the first of all the generations in this entire evolution, this massive chain of cause and events that has gone through this entire development, and we now today are the first to develop this method, and we're completing it, we're making it ready to be utilized by humanity. We're practicing between us, amongst ourselves, based on what's happening between our groups, and then between the connection between us. We write, on the basis of these things, we write new articles, and we investigate, and we examine, and we, thanks to this, based on the practice that we have trying to unite together, we present this method to the world. This is why we're pioneers. We're blazing the trail of practical implementation of this method. So on the one hand, we need to be grateful to our destiny. On the other hand, we need to be responsible, because we have been given this responsibility, and we see by the tempo that the entire humanity is developing at, the need that it feels for a new method to live by. Millions of people ask, what do we do now? And it's up to us. We must give them this method, present it to them. So as we unite together between us, we need to remember them. Otherwise, we'll be doing it egoistically. We need to remember that we're not only doing it for ourselves, that we need to reveal this mutual plan, this program, and to attain it based on our sensations, and to feel it in reality. But we do it so that we could bring this method to everyone else. And then this movement toward one another, this internal movement, it will be accompanied by outward expansion. And these two actions, as we said, all correctly working organs, they work, they exist in this balance of receiving and bestowing. They contract and they expand. And this is what this upper force has created us for. If we include all of these other elements within us, then we advance correctly and very quickly. And if we look at what we've done, we've traveled a very long path. We have a lot of congresses and gatherings under our belts. And today we exist at a state where we simply must demand from ourselves and from the upper force a clear manifestation of this force between us, in a way that we would be able to work with it in a clear manner between ourselves, so that together, all of us and this force that we feel between us would be manifested as a single whole. This is what we must demand. And we need to demand it very clearly, to the extent that this prayer within us, this demand, so that it would come true. Every one of us needs to not only wait and expect. In this action, he needs to move towards, with the correct demand, he needs to move towards one another and towards the Creator in order to sense the Creator. Before I read, I just want to say something. I remember I've been studying for 16 years, and 15 years ago we were studying together in Rav's apartment, and he was saying the same exact words, but at the time they seemed like a pipe dream. We didn't expect, we had no idea, we wouldn't dream of so many people coming and being ready to do this. So thank you, Rav. I wanted to give an example of myself, to the extent that I can give myself as an example. I use myself. And of course there were years when it seemed like this was, it was a pipe dream. 30 years ago I was sitting with my teacher, and when he was telling me these things, these events that are supposed to happen, supposedly, I was thinking, what is he what kind of fantasies is he living in? When he was talking about things that were going to happen 15 years from then. But truly, 15 years passed, and things began to develop and organize organically. And today, this is the next step, the next stage after that. If around 1995, the movement into Kabbalah began, then today, this movement is no longer in Kabbalah itself, but in implementing, manifesting Kabbalah in the clear revelation, discovery of the next degree. This is where humanity is aimed. And look at how it's going there. Like the masses, they're all aimed at discovering this next level. We want to feel it. We want to live in it. Naturally, with all of our corporal realities still intact, but we already desire to exist at this new level in this new society and sensing ourselves with the upper force as well, in complete communication with it, in complete integration with it. And the next stage, which pushes us towards it, and this is all of humanity that's moving somewhere. It doesn't know where yet. It's still being pushed by suffering. And still, every day there are new sensations arising in humanity that are new discoveries. And they're small, but they're happening in a great mass. And this is why it's in a tremendous force. These small sensations multiplied by billions of people. And we see that if people didn't want to talk about integration, unifying together before, and this is what Walt Salam writes about in his article and in his book, The Future Generation, they thought that this was communism, that it was some form of socialism, that it's some utopia that can never be, and this is what they're being offered today. No, that's not the case. They see, based on their suffering, based on what nature is putting before us, this global mass which exists in complete interconnection. This entire humanity cannot separate from one another. They cannot isolate from one another. They see that there is no choice, that we need to do something with this. Nature is forcing us to draw closer, but we don't know the method of drawing closer. Nature is forcing us to, through economy, through all these systems of interdependency, it's forcing us, but we don't know how to implement it, how to approach it with our egoistic tendencies. It follows that within people there is this involuntary almost desire, this need for this method arises, even though they're forced by suffering, not like us when we aspire out of ourselves upward. They're being pushed from behind, but still they follow right behind us. And gradually, over a period of years, of course, but historically, this is it's like one little dot of time. It's not even a period. We're talking about years, only years. Not even decades, but years, single years. Time has compressed to such an extent. And it turns out that suddenly humanity feels itself that it's going somewhere, it's aspiring somewhere, to some direction. It's becoming integrated, and it is going somewhere in the distance. It doesn't know yet where. So where is this solution?
There has to be a point of contact, a volume of contact between us and the rest of humanity that I truly hope that the closer we come to them, this method is a method for their salvation, overcoming to the next level of development. This connection between us, it has to come sometime soon, consciously. The thing we're speaking about in this group, these millions, there are no other solutions to this, so we have to be proud of what we're doing today. We have a lot of work between our lectures and our discussions, in our workshops, on the method of organizing ourselves within a group, within a small society, inside of which there is this sensation of a society which catches the upper force, like a detector placed into a field, a magnetic field, a light field. It doesn't matter which field, but it catches it according to its magnitude, to its intensity, in its direction, its motion. Just as we, having created a group, and we'll divide into groups here, 10, 15 people per group. In this way, having created this group, we'll be able to intentionally build within ourselves such a unity, such a quality, which will perceive this field that we're in. It'll catch it, and this detector, this sensor, it will be the practical realization of our method, and it will be able to show to the world. Through it, we'll understand what's happening with us, all the future, the past. The entire program of creation will be ours, will be existing in it, in this knowledge, this sensation. So before us, there is this practical realization, and for the first time, we undergo it at this Congress. And I hope, all of us hope, that we'll actively participate in it, to bestow ourselves, to give ourselves over to the creation of this sensor, and to sense the Creator. Yes, please.
For the translators, I am skipping the third excerpt and going straight to the fourth. That is why we need a group that unites people who have one desire to achieve an ascent above egoism and mutual repulsion and rise to mutual love. The result of uniting towards a common goal is that instead of being totally weak and unable to resist our egoism, each of us acquires a great force that helps him rise above his egoism to unity. This great force emerges as a result of us putting together our small individual forces, or rather not even forces but just wishes. These small forces of ours will combine together and multiply one another, allowing each of us to rise above his small egoism to unity. That is how every person acquires a tremendous desire to rise above his own egoism and attain a single goal.
So the thing is, it's not that we have a small force, that each of us has a small amount of strength. It's the thing is that there has to be not a quantitative increase, but a qualitative. The quality has to be there. It's not like I have 1 gram and you have 1 gram and somebody else has 1. And it's not like we come together and all of us unite so we have 3 grams. We have to connect here so that we all have an egoistic resistance. These are all resistors. So we don't have 3 grams. We have many, many times more. Unity is qualitative. It's not like you can unite with one and with another and you get, extra force. It's not strength that we're lacking here to break through and ascend. We're missing a quality of unity, a unification between us. The fact that here, between us, that we created here, this field, like a sensor, created between us, in its perception, finds the common field of the Creator, which occupies all of space. And then, specifically within us, do we sense it. So the thing is not in the strength of an individual, but in that drive which we create between us. You can have great, outstanding people with knowledge and wonderful internal preparation, very strong in its quality. But if they don't come to each other in the name of revealing this field for the sake of mutual bestowal, in order to unite in such a way with all of humanity and with the Creator, then nothing will come of it. Here, and in general, we're not talking about a quantitative, but a qualitative unification. So, some people, a small group, even 2 people, if they attune properly to each other, then they can reach the highest qualitative unity and reach the highest spiritual levels. And the intensity of this field that we attain, intensity, depends only on our mutual drive to overcome our egoism. So the harder we try to overcome our egoism, the greater the intensity. Only on this is the revelation of the Creator dependent on. And qualitatively, so you have Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Yechida. I remember this article, which Rabash wrote. I asked him, what do we talk to the group with, when we're going to meet with him for the first time? And he sat on a park bench where we were strolling, and I gave him, from a pack of cigarettes, I gave him, there was nothing to write with, so I didn't have anything. So I gave him like a little aluminum piece of paper, like a piece of tinfoil, and he started writing. And that's how it came into our archive. And that way it's also in our archive on that piece of paper. That's how everything got started. And truly, besides this force of unification, there's nothing else to offer to ourselves or to humanity. We just need to elevate it. The most important thing is the initial sensation, this birth. This birth is dangerous. Just like the birth of a child, when a woman gives birth, this act is sort of, there's something in it which is dangerous. Even though we're so sort of smart with our medicine and technology, we're still kind of awaiting this with tension. Something, something unpredictable could happen, even though we have ultrasounds and all this technology. But the act itself is special. It's under pressure, under great stress. And with us, the same thing is happening. So everything depends on how much we press between ourselves and give birth to ourselves on the next level.
We're going to move on to questions, maybe first.
Maybe you'd have something?
Maybe Carlos is gonna play us something? Carlos, go ahead.
Help him out.
Вопросы, ребята, давайте начнем. Вот как сейчас вот помогли и стало лучше, да?
Friends, what happened now? We helped Carlos and it got better, didn't it? Now let's have questions.
What is the order of the questions?
First, we have questions from the audience.
You can ask any questions from anywhere you want. In any language, we'll translate them.
Es ist sicherlich sehr ungewöhnlich, dass wir hier zu zweit stehen. Das ist mein lieber Freund Adomas aus Litauen und ich bin Jürgen aus Deutschland.
Доброе утро, Раф. Это может удивительно, что мы здесь стоим.
Good morning, Rav. It's wonderful that we're sitting here, standing here together. It's my friend here from Germany and myself.
Alle die gleichen Fragen haben und wir wollen das auch damit zeigen, dass in ganz Europa die gleichen Fragen sind, egal in welcher Nation.
Мы тут поняли при подготовке, что у нас у всех.
But during the preparation, we realized that we have the same questions, and in this we wanted to demonstrate that in Europe here we start beginning to feel the same thing. So I'm passing the phone to Adam. There is a picture that's being presented that nowadays all people in Europe, doesn't matter which country they live in, they feel an individual crisis. In order to come to the realization that the crisis is mutual, it's integrated. What do we need to do? We feel the pain. Now how can we take this pain and use it? And should we feel this pain with respect to other people? I know that a lot of people that are participating, they left their friends and family, and How can we use this? What is the connection between this pain and that point that you're talking about when we need to unite in feeling and to pass on this feeling, pass it forward? How do we connect these things?
There are no equal people. You have no identical people in the world. Each is smarter, weaker, stronger, more patient, lazier. Everybody has their own destiny. Everybody has their own qualities. You don't have identical people. Countries between themselves are completely different. Everybody has their own mentality, their own habits. Everybody's on different levels of development. We can't say, like in Europe, you have, Germany and Greece. They're very different in their qualities and their drives. There are those where it seems like they're in a better state with respect to others, and others are in a worse. The crisis is bringing us toward feeling that each of us in a group, that unity must be above everything. It's a very difficult process. Imagine for yourself in a rich country and a poor one. Then suddenly the people, the nations which have perhaps, century-old feuds, hatreds, different religions, different conditions. We are in such a state in which everybody's different. Everybody, of course, wants to be themselves and to use themselves for the other. The egoism is one for one person. It's not so bad, but imagine an entire country against other countries. Whole continents or civilizations. Let's say the Western civilization. Or the Eastern, and so on. We come upon problems which seem unsolvable. In order to help the countries and the peoples unite with each other, for this we have the crisis. The crisis is help. It's not bad. It's in order for us to realize that there is no other motion forward. If we would understand that we can go forward well, going above our egoism in an easy way, and not without the crisis, without suffering, then we wouldn't have these things in our world. We wouldn't sense them. But the crisis is only to push us towards integration, to force us. That's why it exists. So to the extent that we explain that integration is necessary, it's unavoidable, in that degree, we'll be able to help people calmly and smoothly overcome these problems. You don't need these negative forces. We won't need them. There are many forces of it can be sensed as well or not well. It's all about the tendency in the direction in which we're going. It's very small what's happening today in all the countries. If this small amount of suffering is great enough if people will be stubborn and oppose it, if they won't want to unite even above that, then suffering will increase and increase through world wars, nuclear wars, infectious breakouts, and impacts from the climate. We have to explain the uniqueness of our time, and that before us there is a task of uniting. Nature is telling us one thing to do. If we try to do it faster, then suffering won't catch up to us from behind. If we'll slow down, then suffering will catch up to us. And cause us, very uncomfortable and painful things. Everything depends on our aspiration to unite. Yes, please.
I'm Guido from Italy.
Hello, Rob. This is Guido from Italy.
And in 2 or 3 days we can do the work that otherwise we would do in 1 year.
И через 2-3 дня мы сделаем работу, которая может вылиться результатом через год.
And I think that we shouldn't waste a single second of this chance.
И поэтому мы не должны не терять ни секунды этого шанса.
The last chance that we had was in the last Arava Congress.
Последний шанс, который у нас был, это на конгрессе в Араве.
And I would like to ask you,
И я хочу спросить вас,
how can we now reconnect to the mood, the sensations of the level that we attained in the Arava?
как мы сейчас можем заново подняться на тот уровень связи, который у нас был в Араве?
And keep working from that. Go straight. Boom. Not wasting any time.
И чтобы у нас работа была прямая, сразу, без никаких вопросов.
Мы сейчас находимся вместе все.
We are here together, all of us, here in this hall. Beyond that,
Вы можете видеть, сколько групп в мире смотрят.
and you can also see all the groups that are with us together. Women's, men's, mixed groups from all continents.
Это то, что мы видим. А сколько еще невидимых людей вместе с нами сегодня.
And those are just the ones that we see, and there are many more that we don't see.
Нашего намерения.
Everything depends on our intention. Every moment, no matter what I think, no matter what I heard or see, it's the point is for me to think
О создании вот этого
about the
в котором прояснится
formation of this common sensation which the Creator will be revealed, this light. Like a person that
допустим, есть или огромная проблема, или огромная радость.
a person that has a great problem or a great joy. Let's say this evening I have some sort of great meeting with somebody.
Какой-то ужин
Maybe a dinner
с дорогими мне людьми,
with dear friends.
какое-то особое мероприятие. А днем я должен быть на работе, общаться с другими.
But at the end, but during the day, I still have to be at work and solve problems, and relate to other people. But all day, I'm sort of sensing and tasting what's going to happen in the evening. So I have those problems which I have during the day, but at the same time, in the back of my mind, here, I have a thought that in the evening it's going to be so nice and wonderful and great. Two thoughts. Just like here, we can sort of talk to each other, socialize, and do whatever we have to do. We purposely close ourselves in this hall, but the intention has to be constant. We have to be in pressure to seek, to aspire towards the sensation of this society in which the Creator is revealed. And now, the second thing is, you're saying that we're sensing this in our past, in the desert. I don't want to remember that. This was in the past. Right now, I want to ascend and feel something completely new, the next thing. I don't want to return to the past, even think about it. I now ascend, I stand before something new. And this new thing is greater, better, deeper than the last. Only this way we should think. So don't try to evoke in yourself past emotions. They'll only cause damage. Don't live in the past. Here, within a few hours, we will enter unity. We will have a break now, and then another lecture. They're going to feed us, right? At some point, I hope. This is also an important event. We'll work together. Then there'll also be a lecture. And then there will be a program of unity. And together with our psychologist and teacher, Anatoly Ulyanov, that came here specifically for that, we're going to be hosting a workshop. So now we're doing a practical unification of this new organ of sensation, and it has to be much stronger and much clearer than what we did in the desert or in other places. We must together, including all our friends in the world, to sense that together we ascend. We work out within us the conditions in order to feel this. And we will feel this clearly. It's already coming. It's on its way. It's already inside of us. Just a little bit more and it'll begin to reveal itself. And for now, we're thinking about that. Yes.
Rav, we have a tremendous greeting from the entire world. It's like a lotion of love. It's like a moratorium was announced. Everything stopped. And everyone's waiting to see what the Kabbalists managed to achieve and what the consequences will be after this Congress. So all the cities and countries and continents and groups, there are tremendous amounts, and every one of them tries to is sending their love. Every one of them, they want to unite together into the space. So a few questions. One has an amusing question. Why did Alexander from Moscow asks, why did the creator?
Oh, is there anybody else besides the creator? The biggest egoists are here. Everybody else are smaller egoists. That's why they weren't given the chance to come between us. Listen, this is what I'm telling you. A person thinks that that he has a job and he can't come, and his wife isn't letting him. Otherwise, he would be given the chance to come. It's just a small ego. It's an ego that's too small for that. They thought that they were able to do everything, but perhaps not everything. If a person really wants, truly, and is prepared for this with all of his forces, then he can convince the Creator. He can change by his desire his destiny, without a doubt.
Another question. Simona from Italy asks, how do we differentiate psychological unity from spiritual unity?
I don't think that there's a great difference. This psychological unity is preparation. This unity is psychological. It's egoistic. When we plug into a group, I call it a group. I call it a company and not a group. When we're involved with a company of people, a party of people, we get together, we solve some problems, whatever it is, we move forward with respect, thanks to our egoistic connection between us, qualitatively and quantitatively with our forces. On this level, all people are acting in this world. You have companies or other groups of people that are like this. It's just psychological. It's just a psychological phenomenon. But Kabbalistic unity is built above our egoism. In resisting my ego, do I unite with others? In order to go out for myself, not to bring everybody, this whole company, into me, but to exit from myself, and then it's no longer a company, but a group. And then when I exit from myself into them, and we throw out our spiritual disillusionment, so before us, and egoism we throw out behind us. So let's say here, we unite here, we are over here in a circle. All of our egoism goes out of the circle from each one, from behind, and so on. But all of our aspirations go forward in, our spiritual aspirations. The points in the heart. And here there is one great point. And all egoism is behind us. This is the group. But if we unite all of our egoism together, then it's just a party. You can call it different things. Yes.
Oliver from France asks, in the beginning of the lesson you spoke about the movement that we need to start feeling in order to advance. Could you tell us in more detail whether this is an inner spiritual movement?
This we're going to cover together with Ilyanov during the seminar.
Damir is Croatia.
Every time I come to the European Congress,
Каждый раз, когда я приезжаю на Европейский конгресс,
there is this heaviness that is felt.
Я чувствую какую-то тяжесть.
There is something that is keeping us on the ground.
Я чувствую, что что-то нас держит на земле.
I felt what you said, that we have few hours to reach this unity and that it will happen.
Я чувствую, что вы сказали, что сейчас пройдет несколько часов, и мы почувствуем это объединение.
And I feel that really everybody wants it here.
И я чувствую, что каждый этого хочет.
But there is like this ballast, this weight that keeps us on the ground.
Существует какой-то балласт, какая-то тяжесть, которая держит нас на
like
земле.
Keeping a balloon on the ground.
Как держит шар к земле.
So my question is, how do we get rid of this weight? This
И мой вопрос, как мы можем избавиться от этого балласта?
What is this knife to cut off this?
Что такое, что за нож, который сможет нам помочь?
Единственная сила, которая может...
The only force that will help us against our egoism is the importance of the goal, the importance of the group that attains this goal. The group as a source, the group as a means to attaining this goal, but only as a means. And we learn about this in the articles of the group. If we work in the importance of the goal so that it will be greater than everything else, then we won't feel that the ego is an obstacle for us. We'll begin to feel that the ego is an indicator of those places which we still have to correct. It shows here you can add more effort, here you can tune something a little more, like a broken motor in a machine or a car. You know, something is knocking, so you have to tighten the screw, or something is whistling a little bit, so you have to kind of, fix the connection between two things. Something is overheating, you have to add water or to clean something up. This is how egoism works. It shows you what is broken in you if you go towards the goal. If you attune yourself correctly, you discover it as Eser Kenigdo. It's help against yourself. So he's pulling you in a certain direction. He's pulling your leg in a certain direction, and he's showing you that here you don't have the strength. It's an indicator in your body. The biggest problem in a body is there are some diseases that we don't feel that they're developing, that they're painless, that there are no indicators, and we don't feel any negative sensations. If there is, then I immediately go to the doctor and I stop the disease. Not, after it came to a state in which it's already incurable. Inoperable. You understand? So we have to go up to egoism. We have to treat it well, rationally, work with it, not just annul it, I hate it and I don't want it. No. It is a helper on our path.
In that moment, what must we do in order to keep the goal at the peak, at the top?
Когда мы чувствуем эту тяжесть, что нам нужно делать в этот момент, чтобы подняться вот к этой цели?
Обнимись с друзьями.
Hug your friends.
Good day. I have the sensation that my ego is stealing everything from me. I'm sitting with my friends and it seems to me that I'm rising above my desire to receive, but then I feel that this is all them. I have the sensation that I'm in darkness and I don't hear anything, I don't see this, I don't sense this light. And I'm always trying to overcome this, trying to do something, but I can't find this point of overcoming. And outside of me, I see that people are trying to do this. I sense that they are, but even now, when I see that they're doing it, I still receive something from them, from this. It's like a force that's pushing me back. What do I do?
You must try to dissolve in them, to enter them, like a new person in a collective. Like if you come to a collective and you don't know anything, you don't know anybody, you try to be in it, not standing out, not showing yourself. You came to a new job or something, and you're trying to just be there, just quietly, to be with them, to know, to realize, to sense, to feel. That's how you have to act, and you'll begin to sense that which they have. It's like a fetus inside of its mother. In this case, you will continue to develop, and as you begin to feel yourself more and more clearly, and more confidently you'll begin to manifest yourself with respect to them. So just imagine realizing yourself by being only inside of them, because the field that we have here, we will create. You don't worry about it. The most important thing, if you do it, then you'll feel it.
Qui va bénéficier de ça. Comment je peux l'empêcher de me voler?
Sure, but it's still my ego that's going to be being satisfied from it. What can I do not to steal from them?
It's not bad. Who said it was bad if you want to feel spirituality? The point of nature is to give. You were trying to enter a group to get this organ of bestowal, and within it you want to sense pleasure and delight. Let it be that way for now. Everything else we can't imagine. The most important thing for now is the aspiration towards bestowal for the sake of reception. This is our level. It's called Lolishma. Not for her sake. Not for the sake of the Creator. But when this light comes and begins to manifest inside of us, when we aspire to it, we'll sense, as a result of its influence on us, we'll begin to feel that the quality of bestowal is higher than everything else, greater than everything. I want to be inside it. Also egoistically still, I want to be in it. But after that, the light begins to act in such a way that you'll suddenly start to pull away from yourself, that I want to. You'll gradually lose yourself, and you'll begin to feel yourself, outside of your own self. This is done by the light. You can't do it by yourself. You need to aspire as much as you can with your egoistic desires, and everything else the light will do. This is a prayer. Here you ask for the light to do this work for you. As the light created your egoism, it will correct it. Our job here is to let the light do its work. Thank you. If we will aspire toward unity, everything else the light will do. We're all egoists, not knowing anything, not understanding anything, not knowing what will happen in the next minute, what state we'll be in, our intentions, nothing. We don't know anything. This is not demanded of us. Only one thing is demanded from us. Just try. Everything else the light will do. Maximum unity in the group invokes the appearance of the light, and it will do everything else for us. Everything will be done by it. Just try to connect. Yes.
Ira, I believe from the Düsseldorf group. I have a small question. Or Chachma clothes or Chassidim. What does it mean to receive Or Yichida?
Or Yichida, the light of Yichida, is that one single unity which is manifested in the sensation of the highest attainment of the Creator. Keter. As a result of the full correction of a person. We are corrected in all of our egoistic desires, correcting it for altruistic qualities, to bestowal. And the consequence of all this all these corrections, when the entire Kli sort of unites, this is the light of bestowal, the light of Yechida. When the Kli closes, when we finish correcting it, it's called Gmar Tikkun, the entire final correction. Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya, and Yechida. Yechida, we do not correct. It's the result of, Yechida we do not correct, but as a result of correcting all the lower ones, it's revealed from above. Here we attain this quality, this upper quality, in action, within our desires, befol, as it's called in Hebrew, befol, like in action, practically, and this then becomes the sum of all the corrected desires when we attain unity. This is called the Or Yechida. That's why it's called Yechida, Echad, one, united, Yachad, together. It's the result of all of these corrections.
Hello, Rav. My name is Yakov from Kiev Group. My question is, most of us have people for whom we are an authority figure. But the desire for spirituality doesn't yet appear in them, doesn't emerge. But we love them and we want to save them from suffering. Should we try to trigger this point in them, this spiritual point?
Yes, it's true. We have many close friends and acquaintances that we would like to explain to them. Maybe it'll help them. You know what we're involved with. Maybe it'll sort of color their lives differently, so that they would perceive their pains and suffering as something different. But we know that explaining to them this is very complicated. They can't, as a rule, perceive this. Why? Our method, specifically our method, is a method for those who have evoked, in which has manifested a desire for this, called a point in the heart. It's like with all people. Just imagine, Kabbalists recall their beginning from the first Kabbalist called Adam. Before Adam, there were many generations of people, tens of thousands of years. But the point in the heart didn't manifest. The first point in the heart in our world was called Adam. And it manifested more and more, awakened, I guess, more and more in each generation. So the soul ripens, and he begins to ask, as a lot of people in this world, what do I need this life for? Maybe I should just, kill myself, just end this whole thing. Or at the end of the day, find why life is worth living. These questions about the meaning of life manifest in a person, but it depends on which level. Each person asks themselves, especially in childhood, why are people living? Why? For what? But after that, life starts pushing us, and we stop thinking about it. We forget what we thought about in childhood. But in our time, we see that this question about the meaning of life, thanks to the crisis, thanks to all these problems, it begins to already be attained by millions of people around the world. But for now, the question remains sort of, How do I get rid of my suffering? Run away from them. Run away from the pushing from behind and not to aspire to something better forward. But at least those people with points in the hearts in the world, we see that there are millions of them. You see how many people we have, friends in the world, and those that we don't even know about. The people that are studying with us, but they still don't have that sort of clear desire to enter into contact with us. That's why we have to be very delicate, not to press. Not to pressure anybody. You can maybe give them a book or some literature, whatever could be appropriate. But this development of our method now, that we're developing all of our material, everything we're creating for the 99%, as it's called, they are gradually bringing people forward and want to. They'll be able to help them activate that point in the heart. Many people, but everybody else will go forward just because you have to run away from suffering. I think that we have to sort of, find some interesting material and to give it to them. Speaking to them doesn't work. It's better not to talk. The best thing is something written. You can try that, but patience. I personally, for example, can't imagine how you can speak with someone that doesn't have any questions. So he doesn't have it, so what? I met yesterday with my brother. He's a businessman, lives in Canada and Russia, he has businesses. Well, I talked to him for half an hour, and that's it. I didn't say anything about my studies. I just said, here, there's a Congress or whatever. But that's it. Why? He has no interest in it. Why am I going to, tie him down with this? And I recommend doing this with everybody. It's not worth it. Tell a person what they want to hear. Yes, please.
Ich habe eine Frage bezüglich den Menschen und den Medien. Überall in den Medien wird über die Krise gesprochen, auch in privaten Kreisen wird über die Krise diskutiert.
Hello, Rav. I have a question about the connection with mass media, where there are all kinds of talks about the crisis. In also personal conversations with friends, we talk about how we can solve this crisis. We know that we have the evil inclination. But I can't understand how other people understand that they have the evil inclination. Can we say this to people openly?
Never. Under no circumstances. Under no circumstances can you tell a person about the fact that they're an egoist or something bad about them. What right do you have? If he's a normal person, regular person that's not, just behaving like everybody else, how can you tell them that they're bad and that he's under the control of his egoism? No way, you don't have the right to say that. On the contrary, you should offer something good, not implying in any way that there's something bad in him. On the contrary, you should turn to them, approach them as they're special, like a child. If you want to educate a child well, you have to give them give them confidence that they're able to do things, that they're big, that they're strong, that they're capable. In this way, you'll evoke strength to move forward. But if you start pushing on them, you'll get the opposite. Unfortunately, we don't know how to educate children. We're not taught to do that, and in this way we sort of handicap them. And the same thing with respect to others. You need to evoke good, strong feelings to elevate him. And as special as he is, that person, you show something special in them that can even greater elevate them. Then he's with you. And you're not lying, because everybody has this ability. And you're not pushing from yourself by saying that he's an egoist or whatever. No. You don't need that. It's true that we're all egoists, but if you're an egoist, telling him that he's an egoist, then immediately he's pushed away from you, he's repulsed by you, and won't maintain contact with you. Don't relate to people in a negative way. To anybody. It doesn't matter who they are. You need to find good connections with them. This is called judge each person favorably. Koledamlikov zchut, on the scale of merit. Literally. Okay, yes. I'm not sure how long the lesson is going to go.
Go ahead, keep asking questions. Hello, I'm from Slovakia. The Creator gives us everything. He gives us the translators, He gives us our centers. Why can't He give us correction?
The Creator can give everything, except that which the creature would become like Him. What does it mean that the Creator gives us a Congress, gives us this earth? Why do He create these Congresses and this earth? Why do we need this? Why don't we just stay in the world of infinity and that's it? What, we have to descend now through these 5 worlds into this? Exist in this world? And these problems and states? Who needs that? If you ask the people in the world, you'll see that nobody would want such a thing. The thing is that the Creator made one single thing. He created a point by His light. And beyond that, nothing. The light entered this point and began to interact with it. The quality of the light is bestowal, and the quality of the point is reception. Reception. Opposite qualities. This is a great plus, and this is a big minus. Big doesn't have to be big. It's like a proton and an electron. It doesn't matter. A microscopic force of bestowal of the light and a microscopic point of reception with against it. And these two forces developed from that. Beyond that, the Creator didn't do anything. the Creator is a middle quality. It's like a third party here. This is called Atzmuto, his essence. Atzmuto. It's not. It's hard to translate it, but it's sort of him by himself. In order to attain that specifically, this Atzmuto, what it actually is, what he himself is, for that we need to connect these two qualities together in such a way that they would become equal, the same, so that the quality of reception would become equal to the quality of bestowal, so the quality of the force of reception would bestow just as the force of bestowal bestows. When we compare these two qualities, the quality of reception and the quality of bestowal, the light, then by this equivalence between them, we begin to feel the force which is called Atzmuto, because it created both of them, and the light and the desire. Only the light comes out of Atzmuto directly. This is called his quality. It's called Yesh Mi Yesh, existence from existence. And this force of egoism is called Yesh Mi Ayin, existence from absence. But they're both having exited from the Creator. So as soon as we start attaining an equivalence of the desire with the light, we, in the degree of their likeness, we begin to sense the third force. This is expressed in 3 lines. This is the quality, the force of reception, let's say our ego, and this is the light on the right. And this third force, which is built on the comparison between the two. If I could take from the ego and from the light 2 parts and place them against one another inside of me so that they would be equal, then here in this third force, this third line, I reveal the Creator. Atzmuto. These are physical laws. There's nothing more here. The same thing in science. We use a comparison to find a third parameter. How else could you determine? I don't want to go too far into it, but otherwise you can't. In order to show yourself to somebody, you need to show 2 opposite qualities. From the comparison, the contrast between them, he will come to understand. He will understand you. Only in comparing can we measure something. The Creator gave us this quality, the ability to exist between the plus and the minus, to receiving from Him, comparing the two, and in that way attaining Him. And this is in all walks, in all fields. Yes, in all fields, in science and whatever. Only on the resistance can we sense the force. Here's what we have here. So without this ego, without this resistor on the bottom, and the light which is passing through it, light or current, Rav writes, we won't be able to sense in any way who we're dealing with. So after the Creator created this black dot opposite to the light, After that, these two qualities began to develop between themselves. There's nothing beyond that. On that, the act of creation finished. And beyond that, we just have development. After that, there's no more influence from the side of Atzmuto. So we can say that there is no... In this world, it's like you can say there is no creator. Look, there are clear laws. He's not visible anywhere. But if you want to find him, then you have to compare these two qualities within him. How can you do that? Only if you enter in a relationship between the plus and the minus. But how can you enter between them? How can you relate to them? Only if you're minus. This is your ego. But your plus is the group. Only then. And your ego isn't somebody that, you want to go for a walk, go for a drink, take a bite, enjoy yourself. That you want to work or something. No, this is that resistance towards coming together, coming to the friends in the group. Only this ego is what's counted here. So on this ego, if you're trying to unite upon it, then you receive here this field, this dipole. A dipole is, it's a plus minus. In one body it exists, like in a magnet. Then here, you get the condition for the revelation of the Creator. It turns out that Atzmuto is revealed here, this Atzmuto. These are all physical qualities that you can't get away from them. The problem is that I have to be in it. Well, we'll try.
From the internet, what you were saying just now, the question about that, how can we all come to a unified desire if we're all different? That's the question.
What is the problem here? I don't understand. If you take bodies, men and women, or animals, instincts, things that we were born with, and you take, the fact that we were brought up in different schools, societies, take away all of these earthly symbols, you don't have anything that would separate us. The only thing that separates us is this sort of, this tiny earthly thing that, only because we exist in this form now. In reality, we are one single whole. There is no difference between us. We are one absolute whole. Singular. You can't even draw anything else here. All of this is Adam. Man. One single system. One single soul. And nothing beside that. Besides that. And in order for us to be able to sense, in this state we don't feel anything. In this state we are called the world of infinity. We don't feel anything. Like a drop of semen which enters the womb, and she's impregnated. So what does this drop feel? Nothing. In order for us to begin to develop and to attain what we are and who we are, for that reason, after the world of infinity, we have a shattering. And so we broke up into millions and hundreds of billions of pieces. And these shards create within us an opposition, but these shards are on the earthly level. So let's say these borders. So let's say these borders between me and everybody else. The borders, if I annul this border, I begin to feel everything. This border consists of 5 levels of desire. 5 levels. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or sometimes I write 1 through 5. Desires. The extent to which I annul this, my repulsion from others, the degree to which I neutralize it, I begin to feel nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, yechida.
And that's it. There's nothing else. We exist within this ego, and what we feel, what we sense here is our world. Here it is. It's called Olam Hazeh, this world. And that's it. So let's destroy all the barriers between us. And then we will attain that single one thing, and the bodies will cease to exist. We studied in perception of reality that it will simply evaporate from our bodies. We will feel that we exist in a unified mutual desire filled with a unified single light. But this is all attained exclusively between us. Simply remove the barriers. Let's sing, maybe? Because everyone seems to have fallen asleep. Or what?
Un solo corazón, un solo cuerpo, un solo corazón, amor. Un solo cuerpo, un solo corazón, un solo cuerpo, un solo corazón, amor. Somos uno y no hay división, vamos uniéndonos con el corazón. Somos uno y no hay división, vamos uniéndonos con el corazón. Yeah. Un solo cuerpo, un solo corazón, un solo cuerpo, un solo corazón, amor. Un solo cuerpo, un solo corazón, un solo cuerpo, un solo corazón, amor. Somos uno y no hay división, vamos uniéndonos con el corazón. Vamos, hermanos. uno y no hay división. Vamos uniéndonos con el corazón.